Most people would believe that investing only 2,000 wouldn't really do too much. But I'm here to tell you that you do not need to be thriving financially to begin investing. And believing so is why most people never build real wealth to begin with. It's because they never get started. The point is that this first 2K is not a lottery ticket that's going to be 10xing over the next month, but it also isn't too small of an amount to get started. The first 2K is about getting your foot in the door. It's about learning good investing habits and creating a solid foundation to be able to build some serious wealth into the future. Because if you invest your first 2K wrong, you might scare yourself away from investing. You might invest in the wrong assets, and you might continue to invest out of ease and ignorance, eventually leading yourself in the wrong direction entirely. And so we want to build good investing habits. We want to adopt the mindset of an intelligent investor. You want to invest in the right assets for your age. That is to maximize growth and to make the very best out of whatever money that you decide to invest into your future. So I'm going to be sharing a few ways that you can invest this first 2K, as well as a few extra tips at the end that will enable you to increase your income so that you can invest higher and higher amounts per month. So first things first, before we get into the meat and potatoes, I'm going to be assuming that you don't have any sort of high interest debt that needs to be paid off, and that you have some sort of emergency fund that you can fall on if needed. You should really be paying this off first, as any sort of high interest debt is just going to be working against our gains from investing. So if you do have any urgent debts, look into Dave Ramsey's Debt Snowball, where you basically pay off your debts from smallest to largest, regardless of interest rates. And as for the emergency fund, people will often tell you that you need to have at least 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside. But honestly, if you're in your teens or if you're younger, I would say at least 1 to 3 months is enough. So as for investing our first 2K, we want to be using this money to build the habits and to adopt the traits and mindset of an intelligent investor. With this 2K, you are now going to have skin in the game. You are now going to have actual money in the markets. You will be able to see how the markets behave day to day and how it affects your own money. And so how are you going to react when your money goes up? How are you going to react when your money goes down? Investing is a journey. The road is bumpy and there are ups and downs. If you put, let's say, 100 into the stock market today and tomorrow that dips to 90, so the market is dipped by a hypothetical 10%, which is a lot. As an intelligent investor, you need to be able to stomach this dip. You need to be able to accept it and to not panic sell, because winning investors understand that dips and crashes are temporary and that in time the markets will always reach new highs. I like to think of dips as an opportunity to put a bit of extra cash into my investments, and the larger crash as an even greater opportunity to top up my accounts with even more money. So again, market crashes should be seen as discounts, opportunities, and they should not scare you. And because you're going to be starting with 2K, because you have actually started to invest now, and because you started with a small amount of money, you allow yourself to acclimatize to the stock market, to get used to the ups and downs of investing, as this is something that just comes with the game. You know, this 2,000 is almost like a training account, a demo account. You know, it would be nice to receive, hypothetically, to receive 100K tomorrow and to invest that right away. But as a new investor, you don't know how you would handle that 2K. So how would you be able to know if you could handle 100K? And so again, if your 1K portfolio drops by 10%, it drops by $100. It's not that big of a deal, right? If your 100K portfolio drops by 10%, it drops by 10K. And as a new investor, if you see that drop, if you open your account and you see that the graph is plummeted, if you were to see all of that red, you might not be able to handle it. A new investor might cut their losses and panic sell because they don't understand how the markets work. And perhaps that scares that investor away from investing for the rest of their life. And this is why I say it's important to understand and accept that investing is not a get-rich scheme. And this first 2K should not be treated as some sort of lottery ticket to financial freedom. You need to be investing for multiple years to see the real fruits of your labor. Investing rewards the long-term players who have been in the markets for at least 5, 10, 20 plus years. Over the long term, the markets will always reach higher and higher highs, and that's why you want to get on this train as soon as you can. And in that 20 to 30 years, that is where the greatest rewards lie. This is where the compounding starts to seriously work its magic. And so if you can correctly allocate and make the most of this 2K, then you know that you can do the same for 5K, 10, 20 and onwards. If you can fight the urge to panic sell, if you can weather any potential turbulence and stay level-headed, then you've proven to yourself that you're on your way to becoming a successful investor. And I'm not a financial advisor, but I always recommend anyone, regardless of age, to invest into ETFs or mutual funds. So any basket of stocks or any collection of assets under a single umbrella. For example, if you were to put money into the S&P 500, you'll be putting your money into the top 500 stocks in the US. So instead of buying an individual stock like Tesla or Microsoft. You're basically buying a small bit of a few hundred different companies. ETFs like the S&P 500 or VTI, they do seem boring, and I know it does sound interesting and fun to research and plan to find new emerging companies that are on the rise. But this is highly speculative and not a solid foundation to build good investing habits. The reason why the S&P 500 or similar ETFs are the gold standard of investing is because we are buying a small slice of the entire stock market itself. And the main advantage of ETFs or baskets of assets is that we have the historical data. We have the ability to estimate future returns using the historical averages. And so the S&P can average an 8 to 10% return year on year over longer time horizons, which adjusted for inflation is about a 7 to 8 average return year on year. And I don't want to get too into the numbers, I don't want to get too nitty gritty in this video, but if you are interested in the numbers and you want to see a more in-depth structured plan to a financial target, check out this video right here. But back on topic, when I started my investing journey, I began with £500 into the S&P 500 or VU for you Americans, whatever you want to call it. You could also look into other growth ETFs, VTI or QQQ, VGT. The reason you want to be investing into a growth ETF like the S&P 500 is because you are in the grand scheme on the younger side, and so time is your greatest asset. There is a big difference between somebody who started investing at age 25 compared to someone who started at age 30. It is only a difference of 5 years, but over a 30-year time horizon, the end investment is night and day, and that's why you want to be focusing on growth. Assets like bonds or dividend ETFs have different uses for different demographics, for different investors who have a different goal. So bonds are used often by people who are approaching retirement and have a lower risk capacity and risk tolerance. Dividend investors prioritize income over purely building. Perhaps their exposure to growth ETFs are through their pension or SIP. Do a little bit of research, but don't overthink it too much. Just choose one that works for you and is available for the country that you're actually in. And with this chosen ETF, you're going to beat out the people who are trying to handpick emerging and underground stocks, and you're going to be on your way to becoming an actual investor. You could also consider allocating your money into max 2 different ETFs. So you could put 60 to 70% of your money into the S&P 500 and then the remaining 30% into maybe a higher risk or higher upside ETF such as QQQ, which focuses on technology. Or maybe if you're slightly older and you want less risk, you could invest that remaining 30 to 40% into a total stock market ETF such as VTI, which is slightly less risk. I wouldn't complicate this allocation too much, so if you do want to invest in more than one ETF, I wouldn't go beyond the second one. Holding 3 to 4 plus ETFs leaves you overexposed. You're over diversified and you're just paying higher fees for no reason. And so when you do go to invest this money, to build the habits of a successful investor, ideally you don't want to be investing the whole 2k in one order, in one lump sum. You could start by investing, let's say 100 a week, so 100 every Friday over 20 weeks, or maybe you invest 200 a week over 10 weeks. Ideally you want to average out your money, you want to portion it out and decide to invest it over a longer time horizon instead of all at once. This is called dollar cost averaging or DCAing. DCA as in dollar cost average. This involves investing a fixed amount of money at regular set intervals, no matter what the market is doing or how confident you are feeling. And so when prices are high, your money buys you less. When prices are low, when there is a discount, your money buys you more. But over time, your entry price averages out and emotion is removed from the process entirely. Investing becomes a regular habit. Dollar cost averaging helps to build the discipline by investing regularly, no matter the weather, no matter the state of the markets, no matter what is going on in the news or in politics. By dollar cost averaging, you are staying consistent. For transparency, there is research to potentially show that lump sum investing just marginally outperforms dollar cost averaging. Again, only by a very small margin. But for this guide, priority is learning how to manage your emotions and to stay level-headed through tumultuous market cycles, throughout the highs and lows of the markets. And dollar cost averaging is the best way to acclimatize to investing, the best way to get used to seeing your money go up and down. And that's why it's better for beginners to build slowly instead of jumping straight into the deep end. But regardless, it is at this point where you now have money working for you. Your money is now making you more money. So congratulations, because you have actually taken action. You have disregarded the noise and you've started your journey, which many people have been too apprehensive to do. The last thing that you may want to consider investing in within this 2k budget is your education, body and health. Our minds, our brains, our bodies are our greatest asset, whether we like it or not. And it is a bit cringe to say, but success, wealth and anything else that you desire empire comes from this foundation: mind, body, and soul, of having a sharp mind, of being knowledgeable and being fit and in shape. So don't be afraid of investing into a gym membership. Go and buy a book or two and start reading 10 pages a day, because just like with the stock market, I want to be making sure that I'm developing and growing every day, whether that's at the gym, in knowledge, or in health. My recommendation to you is The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a pretty short and digestible book which explores finances, mindset, and investing through a couple of short stories and anecdotes. Again, call me corny, call me moist, but I couldn't make a beginner investing guide without mentioning that our mind and bodies are our most valuable asset. So invest into your education, invest into your body. But yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this guide. Again, check out my other guides on investing if you are interested. There's going to be a link in the description, or have a look through my channel page.